I'm going to speak about. But during the Revolutionary War, there were three groups of people. There were the Patriots, who knew that freedom was worth dying for. There were the fence-sitters, who didn't want to pick a side. And then there were the loyalists, who didn't understand what Benjamin Franklin meant when he said that those who traded liberty for a little bit of safety deserved neither. And they were okay with trading liberty for a little bit of safety. At that time, the Founding Fathers listed down all the usurpations of the king at the time. And Thomas Paine, he eventually said later, he said that authority delegated is trust. Authority assumed is usurpation. And when we look at what we have today and what has been happening for a long time, if we look at the Federal Reserve, which was created in 1913, and we look at the devaluation of the dollar, we can see that we're going to have a hard time handing it down for the next generation to do the same. The dollar has devalued 97% since then. A house in 1950 on an average salary would take 2 years of savings, and today it takes 7. I have 3 children, and I want to be a good steward. I want to make sure that we are handing it down better than we found it. During COVID, a lot of us found each other, because during that time, there was a lot of absurdity that was happening. We were being told we had to follow arrows on grocery store floors. We were being told that we had to put our cart around plexiglass to pay. And it was at that time that some of us realized that a lot of people don't know what the Constitution says. And we started having classes. Jeff Cobble, who's here, he taught many of our classes. And at that time, I remember hearing in our Tennessee Constitution, it says, the doctrine of non-resistance to arbitrary authority is slavish and absurd. And not only do we have a right to overthrow such government, but we have a duty. And I remember during that time in COVID, anytime I saw something that was slavish and absurd, trying to follow the arrows on the grocery store floor, or being at a restaurant and wearing a mask to a table just to sit down in a room full of maskless people, I thought to myself, this is slavish and absurd. And I know that if we are going to hand down freedom for the next generation to do the same, we need to make sure that we never do things that are slavish and absurd again. And we need to make sure that our children and our children's children know that it says that in our Tennessee Constitution. Amen. I remember during that time in COVID too, we were right next door here at the Carnegie Hotel, and it was for a Women's Federated meeting. And Dr. Charlene Thomas, who's in here tonight, she was reading the 2016 the Republican platform and the preamble. And I was sitting in there, and I had my oldest son on my lap because he wasn't in school, because schools were closed, churches were closed, we were being told we were non-essential. And when she read the Republican platform from 2016, I thought, that's it. That is it right there. If we did everything that is listed in the preamble of that platform, we would be able to hand down freedom for the next generation to do the same. If we stood for the Constitution as binding and inflexible according to the original intent of the authors, we would be able to hand it down. If we stood for limited government, knowing that a government that is not limited and has control over our healthcare, over our education, over every aspect of our lives, has too much control over us and we're dependents. Understanding that liberty requires independence. Understanding that we have to be fiscally conservative because driving up the debt level, making it unsustainable, increasing the poverty level are all steps to walking a people away from freedom. And so at that meeting I asked, hearing what we just heard in the Republican platform, what do we think about mandates? And there are a lot of people who gave the socialist response on that. And so it was a lesson. It was a lesson that we need to make sure that every generation has more patriots than loyalists. Every generation. Thankfully for us, during the Revolutionary War, the fence-sitters chose to side with the patriots. And that's what we need every generation, more and more patriots. We need to raise up patriots. And I teach my children that we should be building our treasures in heaven, not here on earth, but that doesn't mean that I don't want to hand down a free country for them to do the same. And so knowing that we have work to do and we have a lot of principles that we have to uphold. And so right now, I'm going to give the chair award to somebody that has embodied these principles like nobody other. He has stood tirelessly for the Constitution and for the principles that will hand down liberty. So right now, I'm going to have